The Baltimore Ravens are coming up on a big decision this offseason. Now, it's a decision that they're going to consider easy to make right now, but it could end up being disastrous if they don't make some critical changes to their offense. Lamar Jackson has just finished up his third year in the NFL, which for young quarterbacks playing on their rookie contracts, especially if they've outplayed their rookie contracts, and who many believe have cemented their status as a franchise quarterback, once you finish your third season, it is time to start talking about the big money contract extension. Just last year during the offseason, we saw both Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson get their money. Both of those deals were no-brainers. Mahomes had just won the Super Bowl. Deshaun Watson's the first franchise quarterback in the history of the Texans. Now, Houston has found a way to screw that up, which is typical of the Texans. And now Deshaun Watson wants out, which we talked about earlier this week. You can go check that out in the archives. But let's get back to Lamar Jackson. Like I said, most will consider this decision an easy one to make, which it should be. Theoretically, it should be. Lamar Jackson is extremely talented. The Ravens have had great success in the regular season the last 2 years with him as the starter. Got his first playoff win a couple of weeks ago. Now, I have the same concerns with Lamar Jackson that I've had the last 2 or 3 years. And with what I have heard this week from John Harbaugh, I'm even more concerned with the long-term future prospects of Lamar Jackson. The fact of the matter is, he is still not good enough as a pocket passer. And what's even more concerning, John Harbaugh and the Ravens don't seem to care. Listen to these comments by John Harbaugh that he made on a conference call earlier this week. Quote, "The reason why I'm strong on this is because it goes back to the same criticism we've heard the last 3 years about not being the type of an offense or the type of a quarterback that some people want to see. They're just going to have to live with it because Lamar Jackson has won a lot of football games here, and our offense has won us a lot of football games here, and we're not apologizing for that 1 second." End quote. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. John Harbaugh is clearly stubborn, which is a privilege and a character trait you can't afford to have when you continue to get bounced early in the playoffs every year. And the reason that you're getting bounced early is because you don't have an efficient passing attack. Now, some people will say, well, the Ravens don't have a number one receiver. Yeah, that's true. I agree. Baltimore is lacking a legitimate threat at receiver. Why is that? The Ravens are one of the most consistent teams in the NFL. They're fighting for the playoffs damn near every year. You would think receivers would be lining up to come play in Baltimore, but that's not the case. So I go back to my original question. Why? Why is that not the case? Because the Ravens don't pass the ball. Baltimore ranked dead last in passing attempts this year. Their receivers, last in the league in catches, last in the league in yards. Put yourself in the position of someone like Stephon Diggs or a guy like Michael Thomas. Just trying to think of elite receivers off the top of my head, but put yourself in their position. Contracts for wide receivers in the NFL are incentive-laden. For example, I believe it was the last game of the season for the Saints. They were playing in Carolina. Emmanuel Sanders needed something like 7 catches to hit his incentive in his contract. If he hit that mark, he made an extra, I believe it was $750,000. I think it was that much. It was something like that. Don't quote me on the number, but you get my point. Sean Payton made it a point to get Emmanuel Sanders that extra money. He made him the focal point of the offense in the passing game. He got that 7th catch in the 3rd quarter and made that extra $750,000. Players love playing for coaches like that. Now, listen to these comments from John Harbaugh from earlier this week, and if you're a wide receiver in the NFL, tell me if you want to willingly go play for this guy. Quote, "I'm not going to beg anyone to be here. If you're all about stats and numbers and your stat line and how many balls you catch, there are a lot of other teams you can play for, and we'll look forward to playing against you." End quote. Yeah, that is a great way to recruit elite receivers to come play in Baltimore. Basically, What John Harbaugh has told everyone this week is the Ravens, they're not changing a damn thing offensively this offseason. What we've seen the last 2 years is what we're going to see next year. Baltimore had the #1 rushing attack in the NFL for the second straight season. John Harbaugh called it the best run offense in the history of football. Who cares? Who cares? I'm not sure if John Harbaugh realizes this, but the NFL is a passing league. You look at the 4 teams left in the playoffs right now: Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Buffalo, Kansas City. What do they all have in common? They all have elite quarterbacks. Well, 3 of the 4 have elite quarterbacks. Josh Allen's well on his way. But they all have quarterbacks who can stretch the field and who are proficient pocket passers. Look at what's happened the last 2 years in the playoffs to the Ravens. We also saw this happen through much of the regular season this year. They run into a defense that can contain Lamar Jackson, and the Ravens struggle to score. Everyone talked about Baltimore's offensive resurgence late in the season. It was an illusion. For one, last 5 weeks of the year, Lamar Jackson averaged 162 passing yards a game. In a passing league, that's just not going to get it done. And that's not what I would call an offensive resurgence either. But 2, they were going against some of the league's worst defenses late in the year: Dallas, Cleveland, Jacksonville, the Giants, Cincinnati. So of course they looked better offensively. Now let's get back to this contract extension for Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying he's not worth the money or that he hasn't earned the money. But if he doesn't learn how to throw the ball out of the pocket, if he continues to rely on his ability to run the ball, he's just not going to last long in this league. One-dimensional offenses don't work in the NFL. Neither do running quarterbacks who can't throw the ball. The problem is, it doesn't appear to me that John Harbaugh even wants to work with Lamar Jackson on becoming more efficient in the pocket. I've referenced this before. When Cam Newton was in Carolina, Ron Rivera tried and tried to get him to work on becoming a better pocket passer. Cam Newton wasn't interested at the time. And look at him now. He doesn't even know if he'll be playing in the league next season. Lamar Jackson has the perfect example of what can happen if you're a running quarterback and you don't learn how to become a pocket passer, sitting right next to him in the locker room, right next to him on the sidelines. RG3, Robert Griffin III. RG3 took the league by storm 8 or 9 years ago, and he had one devastating leg injury. Career over. He was done. Same thing happened with Michael Vick. Now, completely different circumstances, obviously, but once Michael Vick aged, lost a little bit of that burst of speed, he wasn't the same quarterback. He wasn't the same threat. The league is not kind to running quarterbacks, at least when you're talking about their long-term prospects. There's a reason the average career of a running back is 3 years. Their bodies break down. John Harbaugh has to know this. I mean, he has got to know this. So it baffles me why he doesn't want to develop Lamar Jackson. I don't understand why he's just fine with continuing with a one-dimensional offense and letting his young quarterback, who will likely get an extension worth more than $40 million a year, continue to take a beating every week. But that's just fine, John Harbaugh. That's what you want to do. Stick with the status quo. Lamar Jackson is one hit, one leg injury away from never being the same player. If they don't get an extension done this offseason, and God forbid that injury were to happen, you won't have to worry about making Lamar Jackson a rich man. You won't have to worry about keeping him long term, because he'll be on the couch watching on Sundays just like you and me. All right, that's all for today. Hit that like and subscribe button. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Leave me a comment in the section below with John Harbaugh's comments I shared with you guys. If you're a Ravens fan, are you worried about the long-term career prospects of Lamar Jackson? Should Baltimore pay him $40 million a year if he can't develop into a pocket passer? Is he worth that much money if he can't be an efficient pocket passer? Let me know your thoughts. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys next time.